Whoo, man. Race of the year already at this point, or at least so far in. Welcome, everybody. I told you at some point in the weekend we'd do another stream. I did not realize when I said that on Friday night we'd be talking about Monday night, but here we are. We have tons to go over with this race. We have good, bad, really ugly, and I'm sure there are plenty of opinions about it as well. Before we get into everything, I want to read off a couple people who have left some donations just before we get into everything. Let everyone kind of roll on in. Be sure to click the like button right now. I see we have over 250 watching from my end. Let's get those likes up there. Subscribe if you're new, and let's look into it. Thank you to Michael Kelly Gilliam for 12 gifted Iceberg memberships. I appreciate it. Oh, baby, thank you for the $10 super chat. Do you think that Hendrick's speech after Darlington about getting sick of other cars wrecking his cars played into Chase turning the 11? He did say the 11 ran him into the wall. I personally don't think so. I think it was more geared towards Chastain. We will talk about that. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but we will talk about that. Hunter Nixon Fishing, thank you for the $5, even though it's a retracted message. I appreciate it still. Tyler, thank you for the 2. God, I need that to go green for 40 laps, not 20. I'm assuming because I believe Byron better on those at least. And then Aiden, thank you for the 550 Canadian. Do you think that NASCAR will suspend Elliott for the move on Hamlin? We'll get into that, I promise. I promise we will get into all of that. Need for Speed 53 for 5. Great race. Jimmy's wreck kind of ruined the first half for me, but I enjoyed the rest. I'm happy that Blaney won, 8 out of 10. And then Hunter Nixon Fishing for 5 said, best race of 2023 by far. Charlotte Motor Speedway has proved to be the best product of the Gen 7. I would honestly say yes. I agree with that. And Charlotte is not a track that in the past I liked. COT and especially Gen 6 era Charlotte, I was not a fan of. But let's get into the finishing order and a couple statistics from this race. We'll get to those super chats in a bit. I have them on the queue ready to go. But let's get into this. Y'all are coming on in here. We got, wow, over 330 watching already before we even get into the post-race results. So bring it on in. I have the race on over in the corner. So if anything happens, I'll tell you about it, or you tell me about it. Either way. But this race, the 2023 Coca-Cola 600, was 400 laps for 4 hours, 58 minutes, and 49 seconds, not including all the red flags. There were 31 lead changes among 13 leaders and 16 cautions. Very much a crazy race, to say the least. But looking at the finishing order of this one, Ryan Blaney comes home the winner. Then you got William Byron in second, Martin Truex Jr. in third, Bubba Wallace with a strong 4th place run. 5th goes to Tyler Reddick. Then 6th goes to Kyle Busch. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., another strong run. 7th this time. 8th goes to Buescher. Then 9th goes to Austin Dillon. 10th to Zane Smith. I'll get to those super chats as soon as we get done with the finishing order. 11th goes Kevin Harvick. 12th, first race back. Not too bad for Alex Bowman in the 48. And then Ryan Preece, 13th. Not too bad either for him. 14th, AJ Allmendinger. 15th, Justin Haley. The 2 colleague cars finished very closely together. From there, you got JJ Yaley with a strong 16th place run, mainly through attrition, but still a strong run. 17th goes to Corey LaJoie. Then Harrison Burton, 18th. 19th, Brad Keselowski. And 20th goes to Chase Briscoe. 21st goes to Joey Logano. 22nd, Ross Chastain. 23rd, Daniel Suarez. 24th, Christopher Bell. Then 25th, Eric Almirola. The final car on the lead lap restarted, I believe, in the top 10. So definitely not the greatest finish off for him on that one. 26th goes to Ty Gibbs. I believe 2 laps down for Gibbs. 27th, Ty Dillon. -3, then 4 laps down, and 28th is Michael McDowell. Then 8 laps down, 7 or 8. It was NASCAR's app was a little buggy for me, but was BJ McLeod in 29th. Out of the race were Larson, and Cindric. 59 laps down for Eric Jones in 32nd. The rest of these guys were out of the race at its conclusion. Those include Todd Gilliland in 33rd in the 51 car. Chase Elliott, who we will talk about a lot in this one, finishing 34th. 35th goes to Denny Hamlin, who we also will talk a lot about for obvious reasons. 36th, Noah Gragson, and 37th, and last, Jimmy Johnson. Let me look at a couple of these super chats, and we're going to go piece by piece, stage by stage through this race. I promise we will cover the Chase Elliott deal, but I do want to get through a lot of this stuff first as we keep going. Jacob, thank you for the 2. Brad Keselowski deserved better. Yeah, but still very strong run. The RFK team is definitely showing a lot more strength than they had even last year. It's good to see them do well again. Paul M34, thank you for the Canadian 2, even though it's retracted. I appreciate it. Irvin Alvarado, thank you for being a member for 3 months. The captain smiles tonight with his wholesome sons. Yes, the captain is going to be very happy after this weekend, winning the Indy 500 and Coke 600. The captain gets a double win on this Memorial Day weekend. I'm Martin Fan for life. Thank you for the membership for 2 months. Chase should be suspended, but NASCAR won't do it. Well, see, we'll talk about that in a moment. I promise we will talk about that as we get to it. But I want to go piece by piece by piece. Beast of Metal 1989, thank you for the 20. I won't truly defend what Chase did. It was dangerous and warrants suspension, a la Bubba Wallace. But it takes two wrongs to make a mess. And Denny's been targeting Chase for years. Suspend him too, and send a message to Chastain and Gregson, etc. I don't know about that. I'd have to look into that to be sure, but I wouldn't think he was targeting him, at least in my mind from what I saw, but maybe I missed something. Hall M34, another retracted, but thanks for the 2 Canadian. Marky Mark, thank you for the $12 for the number 12. This is what happiness feels like. Yes, you Blaney fans, I'm sure have to feel happy. We're going to get to the rest of these super chats in a bit, but let's go through the race itself. So the race got, of course, postponed from last night to today at 3 p.m. Eastern time. On and off all day, we had rain issues. The Xfinity race will be going on in probably a bit. But it was worth it. Now, we start out where Denny Hamlin gets the lead over William Byron about 14 laps into the event. And from there, you have just a revolving door for the lead. You have Bell getting past Denny. The competition yellow comes out at lap 35. Then you got a restart on lap 42 with Blaney taking the lead. Then Bell getting past Blaney again on lap 63. And then the first real major incident of the day is Jimmy Johnson spinning on lap 74, which would set the stage for the amazing implosion of Legacy Motor Club in this race, which I got to say, I'm honestly really impressed by just how much they suck today, but we'll get to that. Of course, you get the restart where Byron runs out with the lead because he had the best pit stall and his crew was on it today, even though the car wasn't there for him. But in the final laps of that stage, you have Blaney versus Byron versus Bell, the 3 Bs up front. And Byron wins stage 1 over Bell in second. Third was Blaney. Fourth was Reddick. Fifth, Martin Truex Jr. Sixth, Denny Hamlin. Seventh, Kyle Busch. Then Brad Keselowski in 8th. 9th, Kyle Larson. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in 10th. Stenhouse, very strong all day long. Now, starting stage 2, we now it wasn't reported right away on Fox. I had to find out from Twitter because, of course, I did. I will say Fox got better as the day went on. But the 43, the 42, and the 84 all went to the garage at the same time. Now Johnson's was for damage from a wreck, and you got the 42 and the 43 both hitting something on the racetrack and both puncturing their radiators and basically being, jettisoned from the race. All 3 were in the garage at the same time. It was a spectacular implosion. I know people are trying to compare it to Hendrick 2002 at Talladega. It's not even close. Not in that race did the entire team in one fell swoop get taken out in like 5 laps. That didn't happen. They all had a horrible implosion, but that did not happen the way that the 42, 43, and 84 just spectacularly collapsed today. But from there, you get into, by the way, I have multiple pages of notes because of how long this race was and how interesting it was. So bear with me as we keep going through it. Now, stage 2 at first was, for the most part, honestly, kind of tame. You had some green flag pit stops beginning at lap 146. Then, oh, that reminds me, I should probably actually put the running order on it. You can tell it's been a little while since I've done this. If I get anything wrong, there you go. Streaming schedule's on there too. But looking at it, you had some green flag stops begin. Bell started out where he had some right rear issues. I think on lap 146, Bell had one of the top 3 or 4 best cars out there. And it just, we'll get to that. We'll get to a lot as we go. The only real penalty on that, for the most part, was Bubba having to do a drive-through penalty. I believe he had done equipment interference with another, which I think is getting in the way of their team or whatever. I don't know. That's been coming up a lot more since they changed the pit rules. And then, of course, Elliott and LaJoie, they tried to stretch it out a little bit, play a little bit of a strategy run. Didn't work, but still worth a shot early on in the race like that. Only about 10 laps later, though, you have a caution for rain, which became a red flag. We have a bit of a delay, and we have our first incident between drivers of the day where, and this one had to be reported on Twitter as well. It was recorded from the grandstand, but Bubba Wallace and Eric Almirola had gotten together on the track a little bit, back and forth. They were not happy, especially, I believe, Almirola was not happy, and he shoves Wallace. He did not fight him. I'm so sick of NASCAR fans thinking that shoving is fighting. He did not fight him. He shoved him. Of course, the guy who is always there to break up the fun fights, or fights to be, was there to break it up. I appreciate he's doing his job, but still, I'd like to see more drivers throw down. And they sort of just go their separate ways. End of the day, it really didn't hurt too much on either of their chances at having good runs tonight. And of course, at the end of this red flag, as they're starting to go green, hood goes up for Kyle Larson. I don't believe Fox ever fully explained why that happened. But, didn't seem to hurt him that much. I think they just were making wholesale changes because of not anticipating having to race majority of the race in the day compared to what the Coke 600 normally is. But didn't seem to hurt him too much on that one. By the way, we're going to put up a couple polls on here. Poll is on the community tab too as well if you want to vote on that one for what you thought of the race. But we get back racing on lap 163. Top 5 stay out, and this is where Jimmy and Noah Gragson crash. Jimmy doesn't know Gragson's high on him. They're basically just having a mid-off for last and ultimately take each other out and leave Eric Jones, who would finish, 59 laps down, as the only remaining car that would finish the race for Legacy Motor Club. It was an embarrassing showing, and ultimately, maybe this is rock bottom and they get better. I hope so. But from there on lap 169, nice. We have a restart and a battle between the 45 and the 12. For a while, it was Reddick versus Blaney for this race. Blaney was class of the field, and I think that this win is a statement win for Ryan Blaney, and might be the start of much more to come. Blaney has been incredibly consistent for the time since he won last, which I believe was Daytona. I was at his Michigan and Daytona wins in 21. But yeah, I mean, this is a statement win for Blaney, but he had to fight early on Tyler Reddick, with a great car in that North Carolina blue, for old MJ. But from there, you have Kyle Busch spinning off of the 6's side of Brad Keselowski. Caution comes out. 99 gets involved a little bit as well. Kyle Busch does a reverse down the back stretch through the corner, finds a flat place to spin it around, because if you spin it on the banking, you might screw up everything in the undercarriage of the car, which sucks, but it was pretty entertaining to see that. I'll go back to green with 18 to go in the stage. You got the 10 in the wall, flies, out into the back, whatever. But lap 186, this is where we get to the fun part. Denny Hamlin versus Chase Elliott on this one. So Denny and Chase had been getting into each other. From it sounded like Denny was definitely racing Chase hard. He was getting into him a lot. They had bumped a bit, forced him up into the wall from what it looked like at one point. Aggressive racing. I would say if I'm Chase Elliott, I completely understand why he's pissed. I get it. Like, I get why Elliott's mad there. I don't blame Elliott for being mad at all. From here, Elliott ramps it up from like a 5 on the crazy scale to a 15 out of 10. Coming out of the corner, Hamlin and him get back up at the track again. Hamlin, you could say Hamlin forced him in the wall. You could say they were hard racing. Whatever way you want to go about it. That's in the normal realm of, I think, what's acceptable in racing, even if it's not the cleanest racing among either of them. Coming out of the corner, Elliott straightens it out and turns Hamlin into the wall. Now, at first, a lot of people ripped on me on Twitter for saying that, and other people ripped on others for saying that, saying, no, Keselowski got into him. When you look at the replays, Fox showed it multiple times. You saw it with the SMT data as well. Elliott straightens the car out, takes it left, and when he's hitting Hamlin, that's when he also hits into Keselowski. This spins Hamlin up into the outside wall, crushes the front of the 11, which I got to say, I am, on an aside here, happy that the crush panels and everything have worked better with the next-gen car this year, because I think last year would not have been as clean of a story. But takes out the 11 and himself in the process. So y'all can talk about rule number 1 of stock car racing, as I believe Landon Castle once said. But, I mean, there's not really too much way to go around it here. Elliott took him out. Say what you want. Call me the biggest Elliott hater in the world. All that BS that people want to throw at me about it, whatever. This was, in my opinion, almost exactly the same way, except instead of having a curved wall, it was a straight-on wall. Same deal as Bubba Wallace with Kyle Larson. I mean, I'll keep it like this. I think NASCAR should stay within the realms of what they penalized before. Last year with Bubba, I thought he should have been suspended the last 3 races. NASCAR did 1, which is in the norm of what NASCAR does, 1 to 2 race suspensions for on-track altercations like this, for the most part, unless you're Jeff Gordon. But I would say I think they should suspend him 1 race. I know I've had people in here saying that he's been targeted, this and that. I mean, if you can bring that up, sure, ding Hamlin too. But I think there's a difference between rubbing into each other, racing hard against each other, maybe a little dirty back and forth, but not taking each other out, and right hooking a guy into a wall. That's, like, in my opinion, that is the stock car version, especially if you're right hooking them at high speeds into the outside wall. That's a stock car version of attempted murder. I mean, I said the same thing with Bubba Wallace last year, and I thought it was dumb then, and I think it's dumb now. I don't care if it's Chase Elliott. I don't care if it's Bubba Wallace. I don't care if it's Jeff Gordon, Dale Jr. You look at all these in the past. Matt Kenseth with Joey Logano running somebody up into the wall. It's unacceptable, and it's only going to ramp up, especially as the playoffs start getting into it more. I think that it's stupid. I think that Chase Elliott is a better driver and should hold himself to a higher standard than this. Chase Elliott, for all the crap he gets, is still probably one of the best 3 to 4 drivers in NASCAR, period, based on talent. I don't care that he's in a Hendrick car. He is an amazing driver, and he should not be doing that. That's an embarrassment to Chase Elliott. It's an embarrassment to his fans, which I got to say, I feel for Chase Elliott fans, because I remember being a junior fan when he did this to Brian Vickers, and that should have been a penalty that was not given out because NASCAR played favorites. I can straight up say that. I feel bad for Chase Elliott fans because you are between a rock and a hard place. If you defend him, I think you're wrong, and a lot of people will go after you. If you don't, your driver still looks like an idiot out. To me, the dead giveaway was in the interview. He could have said Brad Keselowski hit him. He could have, but all he said was he dodged the question a bit. He could have easily used a scapegoat of Brad Keselowski, and he didn't. Or if it was that, he would have went straight to it and said Keselowski did. He never mentioned the 6 really taking him out. And at that point, I think that is another piece to go about it. Now, of course, he did not go on a podcast and say, yeah, of course I took him out. That's what I did, because he's not an idiot. Chase Elliott is not a stupid person. He's a very smart person. And NASCAR set a stupid precedent that you can basically just try and take somebody's head off out there, but as long as you don't say you tried it, they wash their hands of it. If NASCAR doesn't penalize Chase Elliott, in my opinion, it is one of the worst showings of favoritism towards a driver. All these Golden Boy comments, which I think have been wrong for so long because I don't think they favor Elliott, all of those get validated if NASCAR does not treat him the same way they treated another driver that did something like this. Where I wonder if they're going to do this is the fact that you saw what happened when Chase Elliott was out. You saw the ratings plummet when he was out. And now willingly going and doing that will probably not be good with the Fox side of things. Probably won't be good leading up to NBC with their side of things. And certainly NASCAR is not going to want to see it in a negotiation year for a new TV deal that possibly could set the sport for decades to come, depending on which way they go about it. But I am straight up, in my opinion, on the racing side of this. NASCAR needs to address it. They need to do it the same way they treat anyone else. And even for Chase Elliott's sake, because he always gets the Mickey Mouse meme thrown at him. He's not a real champion. He didn't do it the same way Kyle Larson did. He did it the same way that other drivers have that wouldn't have been a Winston Cup champ or a Chase for the Cup champ. He gets that stuff thrown at him. It's funny. It's a meme. I know. But you validate that further if you don't treat him the same way. And that's where I want to be with it. He needs to be treated the same way as anybody else. It sucks. I have a feeling less people will watch Gateway without Chase Elliott there. I don't know who the hell could get in the car. I know Josh Berry was trending, but Berry will be over in Portland. So I guess they could fly him over, but is that really beneficial for the team itself? I don't like this kind of stuff. It also validates every stupid stereotype about NASCAR being a bunch of idiots that turn left and crash all the time. I absolutely hate this. I hated it at Las Vegas last year. I hated it when Jeff Gordon did it. I was a hypocrite in 2015, though I was 17 years old. I think that's a bit of an excuse. I hate when this stuff happens now. It's stupid. It's over the line, and yeah, I'm I'm a bit pissed. I'm a bit heated about this because it like I said, Chase Elliott's above this. He is a much better driver than showing this. This is horseshit. That's all this is. This is every bit of shit that you can think of. That's where it is. And it's the same way with Bubba Wallace last year. I don't care. I'm not a fan or a hater either way of either of these drivers. I will criticize them. I will praise them, but it's stupid. Like, it is mind-numbingly stupid. And I feel like if NASCAR doesn't do anything, it will only get worse leading up to and into the playoffs because people will get more desperate. Part of it, I guess you could blame NASCAR for making a culture that has opened the door for allowing this. I know a lot of people are going to be mad at me about this. A lot of people are going to disagree. And I get it, man. When people ripped on Dale Jr. for stupid things he would do, because he did do dumb things, I got pissed. I get it as a fan. But as somebody who's not a fan of anyone at this point, who doesn't really want to play favorites, who enjoys chaos to a degree, this is too far. Rip on Chastain all you want. He didn't do any of this crap. So, again, I know I'm going to get a lot of dislikes on this. I know a lot of people are probably unsubscribe. I don't care. Like, it needs to be said. I hope NASCAR treats this like they would treat anyone else. I hope if Jimmy Johnson did this, I hope he got treated the same way. If Dale Jr. did it, if J.J. Yaley did it, he should be treated the same way. That's my kind of rant on this. It sucks because I know that this is going to overshadow the great race we saw too. This was an awesome race. Nobody should have that taken away either. This was easily, I saw a lot of people going 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. This is, for me, 10 out of 10 was the best race of the year. A lot of the wrecks we saw tonight were because of issues people had with handling. And And there was a lot of great racing throughout. There were 3-4 grooves throughout the night. Don't let this get in the way of the fact that we saw an awesome Coke 600. And once again, for the second year in a row, we saw a 600 that validates this being a crown jewel race. Do not let this incident overshadow it to the degree that it could. Don't let it overshadow Ryan Blaney's win, and don't let it overshadow the cool stuff we're going to talk about, because the second half of the race, honestly, was better than the first half. I don't know, man. I love this sport. I hate when stupid shit happens. Takes away. But let's get into more of this. I'll read super chats about this. We'll talk about it more with that. But let's get into the rest of what happened in this race. We finish out stage 2 after this giant stuff happens, which I gotta say, attaboy to Fox for how they covered it, not jumping the gun early. I was upset they didn't cover it enough, and then they came back later and actually showed everything and broke it down in depth. I like that they waited to get the story right rather than do it too quick. I appreciate that. So good on Fox. I thought Fox Night honestly got better as the night went on. So I praise where it's due. But you have the restart with 8 to go in the stage. Buescher is the leader. But from there, he runs out. You have Harvick second in the stage. Third was Brad. Then you got fourth Logano, Gibbs, Blaney, Bell, Byron, Ross Chastain in ninth. About the only time we ever really mentioned Ross tonight. And Bubba Wallace with the 10th place run in stage 2. Now, stage 3, a bit calmer. You got the 47 and the 8. They stay out in a restart. Harvick, I think, ended up first on the restart after they get rolling. And on lap 232, you have Christopher Bell spin off of 4, I believe. Goes through the trioval grass, basically follows the roval into pit road, which I thought was pretty cool for the most part. But the stage is really, for the most part, coming down between, at least for a bit, between the 12 and 45 again. Reddick was the guy who was challenging Blaney the most in this. And Blaney earned every bit of this win, even though he pretty much dominated it. He earned that domination with how well he did on restarts against these guys. But you had the restarts, after a deal between Todd Gilliland and Brad Keselowski. But on the restart, Byron would run off with the lead, and Blaney would run him down. This happened over and over again through the night. Reddick would track both of them down. They have a bit of a race at the end, and Blaney wins stage 3, followed by Reddick, Truex, Byron, Gibbs, the top 5. Ty Gibbs really ran well, even though the finish didn't show it. And then Larson, Busch, Harvick, Stenhouse, and Alex Bowman in his first race back. They round out the top 10. Then get into the end game here, the final stage, where I go to the second page of my notes on this. Byron is first off the pits. He beats off Blaney and Larson, and I believe I can't see who else. I write like a doctor. I'm sorry. But from there, with 95 or so to go, they have a restart. Blaney will lead, with Busch starting to charge up through the field at this point. And a longer run starts to materialize. With 74 to go, Reddick has this awesome save where he comes off the corner, just rolls it through the turf, which attaboy for Charlotte to having this turf, saving race cars every year instead of destroying them with the splitter in the grass. Again, I appreciate it. I don't complain about everything. I praise stuff when it's due. With 57 to go, Michael McDowell, who had just pitted, loses his tire. There's going to be some people going on vacation this week instead of going to St. Louis. That sucks. McDowell's supremacy will not reign this week. With 51 to go, you have a restart. Byron would clear and go out to the lead, while Blaney actually faded back into the pack. You got guys like Larson and Truex moving up. But Blaney would come back against all of them. That green machine was mean, and it came up and was clean. With 43 to go, Reddick and Harvick collide. You have the 4 spinning into the trioval turf, not grass. They pit again, and you have another restart with 38 to go. Quick caution. Then you have 32 to go. I believe that quick caution was, I can't remember off the top of my head. There's so many cautions. There were 16 tonight. But from there, 32 to go, you have the restart with Byron, Blaney, Larson, and then I can't remember if it was like Joey was up there maybe. Was it Harvick? I can't remember. There's so many people up there. It was a total race of comers and goers in every sense of the word. You had guys who were fast, guys who were slow on short runs, and vice versa on long runs, and then you had Ryan Blaney, who was the constant, the nucleus of the race. But then you have on that restart, Cindric hard into the inside wall, head first, done for the day. But again, gets out of it, is okay, which is the important part of this, at least from all reports, is okay. Then you have 27 to go. This restart to me sealed that if Blaney could roll off well on each restart after this, he would win the race. It sealed it for me, at least on that. Because Kyle Larson going through the corners, I believe was 3rd or 4th up on the top side, runs out of talent, just spins out on his own. And you know what? As talented of a driver as he is, pretty damn impressive that this car is that hard to drive. Kind of similar in a couple ways, kind of what I guess others have done throughout the day. But he loses it on his own, takes out the 20, the 22, and the 54, hits the 10 as well, and ruined some pretty good nights. Bell was bad fast, probably a top 5 car all night. Gibbs was up there too. Logano was coming on strong towards the end, and Almirola was actually having a solid run, somewhat due to strategy, but still pretty solid overall for his standards. I mean, anything above 20th for him this year, no matter how you do it, is good. But with 20 to go, you have the final restart of the night. Blaney runs out as Byron and Truex are side by side for the lead. They basically hold up the pack and the dirty air just enough, even though Blaney did get loose on the restart, and I think it affected, I want to say Truex. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, I think it was Truex. One or the other. But from there, he pretty much runs off. It's his race at that point. Really, other than that, all you could talk about was Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting into each other, the 47 getting up into the wall. But the last thing I guess we'll talk about is after the race, Blaney wins and goes up and celebrates in the stands, just like Joseph Newgarden did. Awesome weekend for the captain. I have to say Roger Penske is probably a very happy man after this week. After the last 24 hours, maybe 28 hours, but still, really good weekend overall. I had a ton of fun with this weekend racing-wise. I can't wait because I'm going to Gateway this week. I actually might be able to stream at Gateway depending on where I do it and how I do it. So you might get one of these streams on a phone. No graphics or any of that fun stuff. You're just going to see my ugly mug from there. Oh, man. I swear I can ramble on forever. It's like a Led Zeppelin song. Ramble on, baby. But let's look into these super chats and comments that you guys have left, because we're going to talk about all this stuff. Let's talk more in depth about it. Isaac Chastain, thank you for the 5. Fun fact, Blaney and Byron both have the best average finishes over the last 5 races. Byron, 3.4. Blaney, 6.2. I mean, Blaney, for all the crap he's been given about not winning, like I said, he's been incredibly consistent, and Byron has been the driver I think that we all expected him to be when he came up to the Cup. It's good to see him finally have this kind of success. I'm glad I'm wrong, man, because he's fun to watch up there. Brock Culpepper, thank you for the 10. Blaney dominated this race. As a Blaney fan, this one is crazy. I have been waiting, and it is surprising how he won. He dominated this race. What are your thoughts? Crown jewel in the bag. My thoughts on this is that this is a statement win for Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney needed a race like this because so many conversations surrounding Ryan Blaney are, oh, he's just Casey Kane. And maybe he is. Casey Kane got a Coke 600 too. Or did he get 2? I think he got 2. Or 3. I don't know. Casey Kane was so damn good at these tracks. I can't remember how many he got. So he might end up being another Casey Kane still, but he needed some kind of signature win that wasn't a super speedway, that wasn't the 550 package, that showed that he could hold off and hold on against some of the best in the sport. And he did just that. He excelled with flying colors, I think, in this one. And it might open the floodgates. It might be the only win he gets. But I think it is a signature win after a winless streak like this. To me, it feels like Dale Jr. in 2012 at Michigan. Jr. had been, while the end wasn't too good, 2011, he was much more consistent. He was very consistent in 2012. It was clear to see that if he can get more wins, he'd be a championship guy, just like Blaney is this year. Top 5 in points, and finally get that signature staple win. In his case, Michigan. In Blaney's case, Charlotte with the 600, which, like many have said in there, has been, 3 weeks? What? Oh, geez. I'm seeing the super chat. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, this has been one of the best shows out there. Is this race? It's one of the most difficult to win now with this car. Blaney, I gotta say, it could be far and away his most impressive win yet, and it could be that signature win. It's just a matter of time to see. But at the moment, it is his signature win. It is that win he needed. So I'm pretty excited for him because I like Blaney. I think he's a good dude. He's always been pretty good, at least when I've been able to talk to him. Agent Boy Band, thank you for the 5. Glad to see the 600 has its prestige back. What an amazing one. Yeah, I agree. I made a video a while ago saying that I thought it lost its luster, and I think it did through the Gen 6 era. People were upset about that, but it did. And I think the Gen 7, next gen, whatever car you want to call this, has brought back a lot of that magic that the Coke 600 was missing and that it needed as a crown jewel event. Napa Racing Fan 927 for 2. Actions detrimental to Chase Elliott. That would be a suspension. Mafire 924, thank you for the 2. Chase shows why he should not be in Cup 4th at HMS. I won't go that far. I know that a lot of people want to troll Elliott fans, but I won't go that far. Gob, thank you for the 5. Man, Eric cannot catch a break. He wheels a piece of garbage legacy car near the top 10, then gets taken out by debris, maybe from the 84 spin. Unreal. Yeah, I am wondering how he is going to respond to when they switch over to Toyota. But yeah, I do feel for Jones because last year he showed just how good he can make that car. And that's why I had him as a playoff pick. I thought he'd at least get one win because that team had so much speed. But from what I've heard, there were some wholesale changes that have been made in the last year or so. And that is not the same team as it was before Jimmy Johnson. And it shows. Let's see. Napa Racing Fan 927, another actions detrimental by Chase, I meant to say. Okay, that makes more sense. This was the first Ford win not on a super speedway since Chris Buescher at Bristol last year. And when was the last time Ford, let's see, when was the last time Ford won a race that was like at a track, a mile and a half or bigger that wasn't a super speedway, like a mile and a half? That'd be an interesting one to see if y'all could find it for me. I appreciate it if you do. 1 ASA Dad for 2. Denny Slam Chastain at Pocono with no suspension. I think where we're going with this one at this point is they set the precedent with the Bubba Wallace deal, and they need to stick to that precedent. If NASCAR is to be taken serious in any way or try and regain any credibility in the eyes of a lot of fans, they need to stay with the rulings they have and not just backpedal on it every time the situation's a little different here. It's a different driver here. Let's see. Carl Singleton, thank you for the 2. How was parity in NASCAR historically and now? Historically, pretty terrible. Until about the 80s, it was normal for only 1 or 2 cars to be good in the field. And you look at the 80s and it goes from like 1 or 2 at the start to maybe 3, 4, then like to 10, 12. In the 90s, it gets more and more. In the 2000s onward is honestly the parity has stayed relatively similar, where you have a lot of teams that can win now. It's much more. There are many more teams now that could win than honestly in the last 20 years or so than honestly any other period of time in NASCAR before that. Whether people want to admit it or not, there are many more drivers that could win on a week in, week out basis in the 2000s through today than there were in the 90s and 80s. Even if the racing was pretty damn good in those eras, I go back and watch those, and it's honestly pretty fun to watch. Let's see. Hold on. I'm just making sure I got this all ready to go. People, thank you for the 2. Chase must be suspended for the entire year. Dangerous. No, one race is what they had set it out to be. with the Bubba Wallace deal. I think that's what they should stick with. At least personally, I think that is. They set a precedent, stick to it. Beast 1624, thank you for the 2. Denny versus Chase. It's Ross Chastain's fault. Hey, look at that. 2 weeks in a row, we're not talking about Chastain in the middle of the biggest hot topic issue in NASCAR. NASCAR Weekly Podcast this Wednesday night on Danny B's channel is going to be really fun. We're going to talk all about that, too. I can't wait to see what they say about it. And by the way, NR Cup Series tomorrow night on IDK Players channel, Michigan COT, 900 horsepower, baby. Andrew, thank you for the 2-month membership. My Indy 500 experience was something I'll do again. Oh, by the way, I want to thank one ASA dad for having his first super chat on the channel. So awesome stuff. I'm just making sure it reset on me, so I just need to make sure I'm reading the right ones. Let's see. Sly Supersonic for 5. This is the second time this year I cried at the end of a race. The first was for Kyle Busch after his win for RCR Auto Club. The second is for Blaney. Oh, nice. I like the passion. I think, Andrew, I read yours about the Indy 500. Eric W., thank you for another 5 gifted memberships. David Bell, thank you for being a member for 2 months. Denny's podcast this week. Fire. Great content, Jared. Well, I appreciate it. Hello, FR for 2. Chase is overrated and dirty. Nah, I wouldn't say overrated, but that was a dirty move. Blake, thank you for the 5. Dad's a Chase fan. He refuses to believe that Elliott intentionally wrecked Hamlin. Glad Blaney won, though. Also, love Blaney's scheme today, too. I did, too. And yeah, I mean, some fans aren't going to believe it. I get it. That's how it goes. Fans are fans, not analysts. Chris Jackson, thank you for the $5 super chat. Your first super chat on the channel. No comment, but still, I appreciate it a ton. Napa Racing Fan 927. I guess we can make a poll here. Should Elliott be suspended for A, the race, B, A, one race, B, multiple races, rest of the year, or life? I say A or B. I'd say A. But I'll give you guys a poll. Let's go about this. Should Elliott be suspended? Because this is going to be the biggest issue, I think, of the week. Like this is all everyone's going to talk about. Or no. All right. So should Elliott be suspended? Yes, one race. Yes, multiple races. Or no. And then I don't know, probation. If they still do that, I feel bad. I should probably know the rules and procedures. If I could spell probation. I remember they used to do that all the time because, like, I think Kurt Busch ended up being on probation for nearly running over a crew guy on purpose. 2007, if you want to look it up, Dover against Tony Stewart. Let's see what else we got. Hunter Nixon Fishing. Thank you for the 5. Harvick spun and still finished ahead of the other 3 SHR cars. Team carrying. Yeah, he is most certainly carrying this team. Chris Jackson, thank you for the 10. Chase Elliott absolutely should be suspended, and I'm a huge Chase fan, but there's no place in the sport for that type of stuff. And hopefully Mr. H and Jeff have talked with him too. Yeah, I agree. And I know while there's like for every Chase Elliott fan that completely defends his actions with this, I know there's another or multiple Chase Elliott fans who do not stand for that kind of thing. So I hope that Elliott fans don't all get lumped into one fell swoop with this, because there is very much an issue that a lot of people are not going to be proud of their driver run. I'm not saying don't root for that driver. Root for your driver. He's your driver. But yeah, that it's an issue, man. Let's see. Finishing up these last couple super chats, and then we'll roll out. Goat, thank you for the 2. What do you think? What would you do in Chase's shoes? Hamlin. If I was in Chase's shoes, I'd probably, knowing my bad emotions, I'd probably do the same thing, and that's not right. I can admit I would not be the most mature, to say the least. I'm not mature in general. But I would hope that I would at least try and like maybe do something after the race or say something after the race. Maybe, hey, you know what? I like this a lot better. Don't wreck race cars and maybe injure people. Instead, go on pit road and fight it out. I like that one better. Evan, thank you for the 2. Iceberg to the 9. Yeah, I could maybe be at a starting park. I can drive stick. I mean, Gateway, I've driven pretty much the speed before that you can drive at Gateway. Maybe not legally, but I have. So, Mr. H, my email is on my Twitter account. You can reach me there. Nick, thank you for the 5. Small thing, but Mike Joy was on fire tonight. His calls tonight reminded me of his calls in the 2000s. Loved hearing his energy, was getting me hyped. Yes. Where was this Mike Joy at the Daytona 500? Like, Mike Joy tonight was awesome, and you're right, he was on it, especially as the night went on and as it heated up. I totally appreciated how good Mike Joy was as this went. So, yeah, he was great. I loved hearing his call tonight. Milton, thank you for the 20. NASCAR needs to suspend Elliott for 3 weeks. The message over intentional wrecks is not getting across to the drivers. This was a Cup champion and most popular driver wrecking someone on purpose. There needs to be a punishment with teeth. I still think a 1 race suspension would be better than 3. If they had penalized Bubba for 3 last year, I'd say 3. But go with what is at the moment. Go with what is the precedent at the moment. But do not go under that. If they go under 1 race, that is absolute horseshit and should be called out. Fred Dog 81, thank you for the 2. What did Bubba do to make normally chill Eric Almirola that mad? I don't know. I mean, that is one thing. I know Fox didn't cover that, and people were saying at the track that they had been getting together. So maybe it was that. I don't know. That's interesting, man. It was interesting. Charlie, thank you for the 2. How do you think NASCAR can grow in the Northeast? Better marketing, and maybe go to tracks there. I skipped your $5 super chat, Tyler. I'll scroll back up and look. I think I did. But my bad. I'll look. Napa Racing Fan 927 for the 2. Should Bank of America 500 return or night race? By the way, we're gonna end this poll right here after almost 300 votes. I'd be fine with it. The ratings show that that probably be better. Road courses don't sell. So I'll ask you guys, what should happen to the fall Charlotte race? 1.5 miler, road course. I'll put that, or Roval, not road course. So 1.5 miler or the Roval. Ask you guys there. And while I'm doing that, I'll check Tyler on that $5 super chat just to make sure I don't miss it. I'd feel like a total ass if I missed it. My lord, we got that. Thought I got it. Let's see. I mean, you left one for 2. It said, God, I needed that to go green. Was it earlier than that? I'm not seeing it on the queue. That's the problem. YouTube's weird like that, so I apologize. Where is it? It's not popping up. But I'll look through it, and then next stream, if I don't find it while I'm going through, I will read it off. Yeah, it's not popping up. I apologize, Tyler. It's not popping up right now. Jesus Christ. I'm just trying to find... Yeah, I'll look for it, and then next stream, I'll be sure. I probably won't stream after Xfinity tonight, because it's going to be late, and I'm going to be honest, I have a lot of business to attend to tomorrow that it would be better if I finished up tonight for everyone's sake. Lukeo, thank you for the 550 Canadian. Chase must be banished to the Shadow Realm in a 3-year suspension. Okay, I know that's a joke. JKS 91 Gaming, thank you for the 2. First super chat as well, thank you. No comment though, but I appreciate it. Kylitos Corner, thank you for the $2 super chat. You gonna buy that Blaney diecast now? Did I say I was gonna? I mean, I will. It's a badass car. I'm down to buy it. I can't even remember half the shit I say half the time. Brody, thank you for the 2. No comment as well, but I appreciate first super chat in the channel. Marky Mark, thank you for the 2. Blaney's pit crew didn't suck today. They lost him some spots a couple times. But I think that was more just because like guys like Byron's crew were on it tonight. Oh, crap. I have a lot of background lights, and they're falling behind it. Stampede 122, thank you for the 5. Off topic, but did you hear about the Indy 500 tire? Yeah, I did see that. I watched Indy 500. That was scary. Alex Smaligo, I apologize if I'm saying the name wrong, but thank you for the first super chat in the channel for 5. What do you think of Joey Logano's bad luck streak since Martinsville beside Kansas? I think it's better to have bad luck than to run bad. So I think he'll be fine on the long term. But it's it happens to every driver. I wouldn't get too out there on it just yet. People, thank you for the 2. Chase fans are the most delusional, always defend. That's every fan. I've seen Larson fans do the same thing. It's not just Chase fans. Maestro 42, thank you for the 2. Parkham, Mr. H has Barry on speed dial anyway. Well, Barry's going to be in Portland, and while they can make it work, it's gonna be interesting who they tab for it, because it will be difficult, but not impossible. Will England, thank you for being a member for 2 months. My guess is Matty D subs for Chase at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Maybe he'd be at the track. I know people mentioned Hocevar, but he's very young still. He still is just getting his toes wet in the Xfinity series. So I don't know about putting him up in Cup with the big dogs just yet. But you never know. NASCAR Fanatic 24-25. Hey, you know what? We get Dale Jr. I'm kidding. I know he wouldn't do that. But I would not mind being at one of Dale Jr., if not the last race for Dale Jr. in the Cup Series. I know it won't happen, but I'm going to stir that pot a little bit. NASCAR Fanatic 24-25 actions, but Hamlin is the last person who should have any say-so. He's made a career out of wrecking people himself. He has wrecked people before, though that does not justify him being wrecked. James Greer, thank you for the 5. Bubba flipped AA off, and Eric Almirola confronted him. Bubba was cussing at him, and Almirola wasn't having it. I don't know if that's true, but if that's the case, well, a little bit of an attitude there from Bubba. That wouldn't be surprising. But hey, I appreciate both them actually going at it a little bit. I like that. Austin, thank you for the 2. Hey man, love you and hope that you had a great day. Well, I did, and I hope you had one too. Every day's a great day when you get to watch an awesome race. And Eric W., thank you for being a member for 3 months. Member night, chant it with me. I appreciate it, man. And I think, well, Jim H., thank you for the 5 and your first super chat in the channel. How do you think Gilliland feels watching Smith get a top 10 in his car while he's driving garbage? Probably not good. He's made it pretty well known how unhappy he is with that situation, and knowing how good he's done so far this year in that car, I would not be surprised if he walks and goes somewhere else if he brings sponsorship. I think Front Row has a very good problem, is that they have 3 very capable drivers that can get the most out of their equipment. So I think Front Row is going to win no matter what, as long as they keep 2 of the drivers. My guess, from at least what I've heard in the garage, which changes every week, so don't take it to the bank. But my guess would be Zane Smith and Todd Gilliland being the 2 drivers next year personally. Though I could see Michael McDowell easily back too. The real question is, does Love stay with the team if McDowell is gone? Probably, because they have sponsored before he was there. But you never know how they build up that partnership. Michael McDowell is in a lot of Love's travel stops around the country. I travel a lot, and he is in all of them. An Agent Boy Band SLG, thank you for the 5. Only way I don't want the Roval is if the Glen is in the playoffs. I don't know if they'd probably do that. looking at the poll right now after almost 250 votes, having the normal 1.5 miles is at 53% to the 47% for the Roval. So very interesting results there. Napa Racing fan, thank you for being a member for 3 months. Love the Roval. Return to the oval. Bring back the Brickyard 400. James, thank you for another 2. That's what Eric said in his interview. Ooh, I like that. We got some spiciness to talk about this week. I can't wait. Wednesday night, Danny B's channel. Danny B Talks at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be on there, all of us. We're talking all this stuff. It's going to be a blast. NR Cup Series tomorrow night. Going to be a blast on IDK Players channel. And then if you're going to Gateway, I'll be there, and I can't wait to see all y'all there. I'll be bringing Darian, and we'll probably be going to the Tweet Up. I'm looking right now. They're choosing for the Xfinity Series. So I think we are going to call this one for the night. If I don't see your Super Chat from this point forward, it's because there's a bit of a delay. I apologize. But y'all, it's been real, and it was a lot of fun watching the race and chilling with y'all tonight. But that's going to be. So thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, whether it's tomorrow or later in the week, have a good one. Later.